Welcome back to a new video. It has been a long time, I know. But if you follow me on Instagram, you see that I've been very active. I've been producing a lot of videos, and that's where I interact with you guys the most. I post also on YouTube, you've seen some vlogs, but I've asked you a question, what do you guys want to see? And most of you have answered or voted that you want to see flight simulator videos. Not anyone's you want to go back to basics. So for you, this is going to be a learning path, but for me also, I'm going to be refreshing my memory. I haven't flown a Cessna 152 in a long time. So let's dive into it. And I didn't find a better way rather than using Flight Simulator itself. And there's a flight training section, which starts with the very basics, which are the takeoff. As you can see here, this is the profile we're going to use today for our takeoff. It's very simple, very straightforward. We get on the airplane, we're going to get to the airport. I'll show you how we use flight controls or basic flight controls principles. And then we will taxi, we would have a flight instructor. So you would be hearing the instructor's input. From there, we're just gonna follow the instructor's inputs and I'll be commenting at the same time. As you can see the curve here, we take off at 55 knots or we're rotated at 55 knots and we're gonna climb at 75 knots indicated airspeed. And from there, we're just gonna stop the first segment of this back to basics flying. So let's start. So this is the airplane from the outside. We are at the holding point. Before we do any maneuver, I just wanna show you some basic flight control principles. Any flight controls inputs that happen inside the flight deck with the yoke, it will have an impact on the flight controls on the outside. So all the flight controls that you see inside the airplane, like this one that I'm using now, which is called a side stick, but in reality inside the airplane, you will find a yoke. So this is inside the airplane and this is a yoke. You can see if I pull and push, the yoke is moving, and the yoke is connected through cables to move the surfaces at the back. And this is really important to know which surfaces you're moving when you're having or making an input inside the airplane. If we're pulling, that means we're bringing the yoke close to us. That means the elevator at the back will move up as such. And this is really important when you do your flight control check before each takeoff. You will have to visually check them to make sure that the flight control movement inside the flight deck corresponds to the surface movement. And then we push the yoke to the front and you will see the elevator is going down, and that confirms and that's the correct deflection of the surface. And the ailerons, which are here at the tip or at the extremities of the wing, at the root here we have the flaps. So what we will do is you will see the flaps are going down, so we're going to use one notch of flap, which is 10 degrees for this airplane. And the aileron, I'm going to turn the ailerons to the left. So if I move the ailerons to the left like this or to the right, it should move the ailerons on the wings. And you can see them here. When I turn them, you can see that they're moving. To visually check them. That's how the pilots they check before each takeoff. But for us, we're gonna go to the outside to make sure that we understand what happens exactly. So if I turn left, the left aileron goes up and the right aileron goes down. I'll do it again. So focus on the left one and then check the right one. I will do it very slow. Left is going up and the right is going down. I will do the same thing for the right one. Right is going up and the left is going down. So right is going up and the left is going down. Very simple. So we've done our flight control check. Also we have the rudder here, which is the vertical surface here. And if I move the rudder, which is inside the flight deck, which helps the airplane to keep the nose straight either on the runway or, for example, to make a coordinated turn when you're flying. So the rudder is basically these pedals that you can see here. At the top of them you have the brakes, but if you press the button, as you can see here, you're moving the rudder. And when you move the rudder, one thing happens at the back of the airplane. So when I move the rudder to the right, as you can see, if I push it inside the flight deck, it will move the rudder to the right. Same thing, if I move it to the left, we turn to the left. So basically we're playing with pressure or airflow to control the airplane's direction. All right, with that being explained, I hope it makes sense. I don't think it's really hard. Let's follow the instructions of the instructor inside. And I think most probably is to line up and stop exactly there. From there, we will take it to the next step. So we have to make sure before we line up that we check the approach final is clear. And we have to look on the right side that it is clear. Now we can release the parking brake. The parking brake has been released and we add a little bit of power. And here you can see that there is the RPM, that means the revolution per minute. So how much engine power you're putting.
Let's position the plane for takeoff.
Okay, I'm adding power. So bear with me, I'm trying to feel this airplane and try, you have to feel the airplane when you fly it for the first time. and to get used to it and fine-tune your handling. Okay, so this is our stop. We're gonna go there. Don't mind what's flashing on the avionics. Most probably it's a glitch. It doesn't matter for this video. So we're just gonna stop here exactly. Okay, here we are. And I think we're ready. So let's wait for our next instruction.
Apply full power and I'll walk you through the takeoff as we go.
All right, so the instructor says apply full power. So what she wants us to do is apply full power on the throttle here, which is this one.
Rudders to stay on the center line.
And she says use the rudder to maintain the center line, because the propeller will have an effect on the rudder at the back. We'll explain that later as well. And it will turn the airplane to the left, so we have to apply some right rudder to keep the center line. As we approach the rotation speed, we will pull on the yoke slightly to raise the nose of the airplane. And as the airplane gets safely airborne, then we will have to get to our climbing speed. In this case is 75 knots. First, what we will do is rotate, climb, then we're gonna fine tune to keep that altitude or that rate of climb to maintain 75 knots. Full power. Okay, we can see full power on the RPM on the right. We're waiting for the speed to be alive. Okay, airspeed is alive. And I'm pushing a bit the rudder to keep the center line.
Good. Now gently pull back on the yoke.
Okay, so the instructor is saying to pull back, so I'm gonna pull back on the yoke, as you can see, and the airplane is going up. And we have to make sure that we're tracking,
Back on the yoke to take off.
we have to make sure that we're tracking the center line. This is really important in crosswind conditions. If you're not tracking the runway center line,
Top of your instrument panel, so it's a couple of inches above the horizon.
okay, you see, she says to pitch and keep the nose of the airplane just 2 inches above the horizon to keep the speed. So this is, it's visual flight rules, so you have to use the reference outside as an attitude. We don't use the attitude indicator inside the flight deck. And with that, it's really important to look at the back, and this is a good technique to make sure that you are on the runway center line, is to look at the back after takeoff. Because when you have crosswind and you're not correcting the drift, because remember, you're flying a heading, if you're not correcting for the drift, you will find yourself off center line, and that's wrong. So for you to be correctly on the upwind leg, you'll have to make sure you're correcting for that wind. So this is the exercise. We're climbing at 75 knots. Remember to trim the airplane. This is a trim, just right here. This is a trim. See if I put it up a bit, it will help me cancel the efforts I'm putting on the yoke. So it cancels. So first you have to
75 knots and climb
get the attitude,
500 feet.
adjust the power, and then you fine tune with the trim to cancel the effort. So attitude, power, then trim.
5,500 feet. You've reached your target
Okay,
altitude.
we've reached 5,500 feet, as she said. We level off. And I guess that's finished. To demonstrate the video of today, I think it's super easy. As you saw, understand the flight controls principles, then know what you're gonna do, what you expect. A good briefing before each flight is really, really important, because you remove all the doubt and the surprises that can come afterwards. So you try to just mentally play the scenario ahead of time. Try to imagine what's gonna happen while you are at that speed, when you rotate, what's gonna happen, and then I'm gonna climb. I have to get a certain rate of climb, and then I will accelerate. I will have to retract the flaps. In this case of this video, we didn't get the chance to accelerate, to retract the flaps. Those are the maneuvers you will have to train, unless you want to, for example, keep the flaps, and so it depends. And all that has to be briefed before each flight, so that you are better prepared and your situation awareness is increased and it's not challenged by these things, because most of the things is already done at the back of the mind, and all you have to focus on is flying and navigating the airplane, etc. So that's it for the Back to Basics flying. I hope that this video will add some value to your knowledge. And please let me know in the comments below, what are the things you want to see? What do you want to see in details? Do you want more technicality? You want me to keep it one step at a time? For example, we spoke about the slipstream. When you apply the power, that will deflect, have some impact on the rudder, and will deflect the nose of the airplane to go to the left. And then you have to apply the rudder. I know that these things are really important. Do you want to go more into details about things, or do you want me just to keep it simple? And then maybe we can make the same video with more advanced information. That's it for me today, guys. I hope to see you on the next one. We're gonna use the same sequence, and on the next video, it's gonna be about the landing. Until then, stay safe.